There's controversy in the air about the use of state planes by CFO Alex Sink and Attorney General Bill McCollum, the chief rivals for governor in 2010. Are the legal and ethical questions clouding state politics much ado about nothing? That's our topic on Power Play this week with our guests, Brittany Benner, reporter for Gannett News Service, and Steve Bosquet, bureau chief of the St. Pete Times. So we have an aviation controversy about the flights on state business or not of state officials, CFO Sink, AG McCollum, and in some cases family members. Steve, what's it all about? Is it legal? Is it ethical? How big a problem?
Well, it's a problem, but it's not a huge problem, and I don't think it'll be a defining issue in the governor's race in 2010. But to borrow an old commercial tagline, Ron, Alex Sink and Bill McCollum love to fly, and it shows. Alex Sink is taking family members in and out of Tampa, where she has the family home, and she's writing checks and reimbursing the state. But those are flights that are made solely for the purpose of picking up her husband, Bill McBride, dropping off Bill McBride. Bill McCollum actually lives a good part of the time in the central Florida suburb of Longwood and has an empty plane, deadhead, from Tallahassee to come down and pick him up to take him to official business, and that's cost taxpayers about $59,000.
So neither one has a particular advantage here. They're both kind of in the soup of questions being asked about this, Brittany.
Well, Ron, I think you and I both know that this is something that has long been abused in the system, and the bottom line is times have changed, and we need to look forward and whether this is something lawmakers to look at refining some of those ethical rules and making sure that those elected politicians don't abuse those privileges. You know, maybe that's something we need to consider given the current economic situation.
We looked at this in detail, Ron, and I want to say a couple of things. Alex Sink uses the state plane substantially more than Bill McCollum. Bill McCollum never takes a family member on a trip. So those are two distinctions right there.
But the law allows for family members to fly with an official who's going on state business somewhere.
If they reimburse and if the plane is going to that destination anyway, that's the
But not just for a pickup or a drop-off of the family member. So in the end, if there's a lingering cloud over either one of these about a flight taking a family member somewhere or a deadhead empty plane picking up an AG in Sanford, Florida, what do? Cut a check?
Cut a check. You know, I think the person who's a little bit more vulnerable on this issue is Alex Sink, and because she's used the plane more often and because she, as the chief financial officer, is sort of the steward of the public purse. McCollum is the chief legal officer. He's not blameless, but the jobs are different, and so the accountability is a little bit different.
Well, let's talk about the political ramifications. These are our two principal rivals, one Democrat, Sink, and one Republican, McCollum, for governor in 2010. Does either one have an advantage with this issue now to hammer the other one?
Well, I think it's important to note that I don't know whether there's an advantage or disadvantage here, but we want to make sure that these two gubernatorial candidates don't self-destruct as they're fighting for, you know, the rights over the plane and who can and who can't ride along. You know, they're going to both end up destroying each other if they continue this battle.
And because the Ethics Commission is such a weird, weak animal in Florida, almost anybody can cough out a complaint. Are we likely to see a complaint about this?
I would think so. You're going to see a lot of this stuff. But in the case of the aircraft, my reading of the statute is that basically the agency, in this case Sink and McCollum, they make the determination whether the trip is for official use or not. It's them making the determination about their own travel.
Well, Steve, it's your paper, the St. Pete Times with the Miami Herald, that have been aggressively pursuing this. What else you got coming up? You're going to be looking at the governor's travel, Charlie Crist?
Absolutely. And
what will it show?
But well, we don't know yet. But I mean, Charlie Crist so far has been very careful to avoid putting himself in a situation where he's using a state plane to go to a fundraiser. He's been driving. He's been taking commercial flights, I think, to the consternation of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They don't like the governor flying commercially. But he's doing that because he doesn't want the kind of front page story that Sink and McCollum got this week.
Well, we can't forget that Charlie Crist is the champion of open government here in the state and making sure that all that stuff is open.
But Sink's the one who wanted to put these travel records online, making it easier for people to say, isn't the rule of thumb in politics still, you know, even the appearance of impropriety is as bad for you as a real impropriety? Sure. And now we'll go to your respective Power Play of the week. Steve.
I'm going to go with Marco Rubio, the underdog U.S. Senate candidate against Charlie Crist. He's still a decided underdog, but every couple of days he picks up another important endorsement. Congressman Jeff Miller from the Panhandle, Governor Mike Huckabee of Arkansas, Senator Jim DeMint of South Carolina. He's picking up just enough endorsements to stay viable and stay vital and stay in the news.
And it's making him more bona fide as a candidate.
I'm going global on mine, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say Michael Jackson. With all his controversy he stirred over the years, a lifelong career in the music industry, there's no doubt that pop culture and the racial barriers that he's bridged over the years has certainly had a political influence on the globe.
A great thriller, and I'm going to go with Lieutenant Governor Jeff Kottkamp, who by default doesn't look so bad now to announce for Attorney General, since 2 other statewide elected officials are in the travel soup of controversy. For all the latest political news, go to the Safety Review. Steve Bosquet, Brittany Benner, thank you very much. We'll see you next time on Power Play.